Hi students, welcome to Shakhar's history classes. We are doing this class as part of Prelims and Mains 2022 series. We are continuing Delhi Sultanate. This class focuses on expansion of Delhi Sultanate. Before going into the expansion, let us take a brief look at in which year Delhi Sultanate was established and we see what are the policies of different rulers. We have to see the 1206 year. 1206 is the year of establishment of Delhi Sultanate. When Ghori Muhammad died in 1206, his commander Qutbuddin Aibak established his authority in Delhi. Delhi Sultanate. Actually, initially his capital was at Lahore under Iltutmish, under the successor of Qutbuddin Aibak. Iltutmish transferred capital from Lahore to Delhi. From that time period onwards, Delhi became the important political center and cultural center of Delhi Sultanate. Now continuing till 1206 to 1219, it was the time period during which Mamluk dynasty or slave dynasty was ruling the Delhi Sultanate. Later in 1290, from 1290 to 1320, Khalji dynasty was ruling. From 1290 to 1320, Khalji dynasty was there. From 1320 onwards, a new dynasty, that is Tughlaq dynasty, came. So these dynasties tried to expand the Delhi Sultanate from Delhi towards different directions. However, mainly from 1206 to 1290, during the time period of Mamluk dynasty, their main focus was on consolidating the Delhi Sultanate time period. Whatever the gains they have got during the Ghurid invasions, they tried to consolidate their territories. The real expansion took place during Khalji time period and later during Tughlaq time period. So our main focus here was on Khalji dynasty because the real expansion started during Khalji time period and particularly Alauddin Khalji time period. Now we have to see, here is the Delhi. So they were mainly concentrating on this area. Here Rajputana states were there, and here the Gangetic Valley, it was under Delhi Sultanate. Now Gujarat was out of Delhi Sultanate, Malwa region was out of it, and here Yadavas, Kakatiyas, Hoysalas, here Pandyans. These were the contemporaries of Delhi Sultanate during Khalji time period. Now we have to see once again here some Rajput states like Ranthambore, Mewar, such kind of states were also there in the Rajputana area. So this is the existing political scenario, and on this hand here this was completely beyond this, Mongols occupied this area. Because during the time period of Chengiz Khan, the Central Asian and West Asia and northwestern part of Indians were completely routed by Mongol in armies. The successors of Chengiz Khan occupied these areas. Now they were trying to expand their territories into Indian mainland. So this is the circumstances under which Khaljis emerged as sultans. Alauddin Khalji, he followed expansionary policies. However, what was the relationship between these areas? Gujarat and Malwa, Yadavas, Kakatiyas. Gujarat versus Malwa and Deoghar. The capital of Yadavas was Deoghar. Deoghar is very important in Delhi Sultanate period. Later, when it was occupied by Tughlaq, he renamed Deoghar as Daulatabad. It was made as second capital of Delhi Sultanate. Like Delhi was the capital, Daulatabad was also made as capital during the time period of Delhi Tughlaq time period, and he even tried to shift the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. In this context, Diogir is important. Gujarat and Malwa, they were fighting because these two kingdoms were neighbors. They used to fight for the expanding their territories. Similarly, Gujarat and Yadavas, they tried to expand their territories each other, and they often conflict with each other. So their conflicts were very common. Gujarat versus Malwa and Yadavas, Yadavas versus Kakatiyas and Hoysalas versus Pandyans. So this kind of struggle was already going on in the Deccan. Gujarat versus Malwa and Diogir, Diogir versus Warangal, Diogir versus Hoysalas, Hoysalas versus Pandyas. This was the existing political scenario when Alauddin Khalji tried to expand the territories of Delhi Sultanate. Even before he became the Delhi Sultan, during the governorship of Awadh, he personally raided Diogir. Alauddin Khalji, he raided Diogir, he got a lot of wealth from there, and he used that wealth to shift the loyalties of nobles from his father-in-law. He purchased the nobles and he got the support through this wealth. So he already had some kind of idea about Deccan politics even before he became the Sultan of Delhi. Now, why Delhi Sultans wanted to expand their territories into Malwa and Gujarat? Initially, when Ghurid invasions took place, they controlled these areas. Most of the time, almost for 100 years, their main energy has gone to consolidate the gains in Gangetic Valley. This is Gangetic Valley. Later, once they stabilized the Gangetic Valley portion, now they wanted to expand their territories into Malwa, Gujarat and other areas. Now we have to see what was the reason to expand the territories. One, Malwa and Gujarat, we are talking about Malwa and Gujarat. They were fertile and populous regions. They were fertile. If you expand the territories into the fertile area, you can increase the share of land revenue and you can increase the strength of wealth of the Delhi Sultanate. And another one, they control the western seaports and trade routes connecting them with Gangetic Valley. Now we will see. Let us take new map. This is Delhi. These are important ports. These ports are important to connect to West Asia, Arabia, Iraq. This area is now not safe. This is very vulnerable because of Mongol occupation. Unless the Mongols settled, unless they provide proper safety and security to the traders, this route cannot be used by Delhi Sultanate. Now they had to use the port route in order to connect to the Central Asia or West Asia. So Gujarat was having important ports. So this is one reason, control the western seaports, trade routes connecting them with Gangetic Valley. Now these trade routes are connected to Gangetic Valley. Gangetic Valley is the main area. Now in order to transport the goods, traders need the access of these ports. If it is part of Delhi Sultanate, they can easily connect the ports. This is one reason. And trade routes and seaports. They brought in a lot of gold and silver. When the connectivity increases between the Gangetic Valley and seaports, it increases the trade and it will bring a lot of gold and silver due to high trading activities. One more security angle is they supply the horses, because now you see these areas under Mongols, they cannot import the horses from Central Asia to Delhi. Now they have to find a new way to import the horses from West Asia and Central Asia. In this context also, Gujarat is very important. supply of horses to their armies due to Mongol disturbances in Central and West Asia. The import of Arabi, Iraqi, and Turkey horses is possible only if you control the ports. So this is both economic angle, you can say economic, it will increase the trade, it will bring the gold and silver, and it is also having strategic. It is also having strategic relevance. So for these two reasons, two important reasons, now Delhi Sultanate had to conquer Gujarat. These reasons are same even during Mughal time period as well. When Akbar wanted to expand his territories into Gujarat, the reasons were almost similar. So economic reasons and also strategic reasons. Now let us see how, under what circumstances Gujarat was conquered. In 1299, Alauddin Khalji became the Sultan in 1296. So in 1299, Alauddin Khalji's general marched against Gujarat by way of Rajasthan. So they used the Rajasthan area and they reached Gujarat. Gujarat ruler Roy was taken by surprise and fled without offering a fight. The chief cities like Anhilwara was sacked. Somnath temple was also plundered and sacked. During the time period of Ghazni Muhammad, we are talking about Ghazni Muhammad, Somnath temple was sacked in 1025 and 1024. Now once again, during the time period of Alauddin Khalji, in 1299, once again Somnath temple was plundered and sacked. Now once again you see, after 1025 Somnath temple was rebuilt again. So this was rebuilt, once again wealth and this area was prospered. Now once again it was sacked. Malik Kafur, who later led the invasions of South India, was captured here. Gujarat now passed under the control of Delhi. Through this conquest, this area became part of Delhi Sultanate. Malik Kafur was a slave. He was purchased in the Gujarat market. Later, Malik Kafur played very dominant role in expanding the Delhi Sultanate territories into deep Deccan. So you have to remember, Malik Kafur was taken to Delhi Sultanate from Gujarat. Now Rajasthan. Now in order to connect to the Gujarat, now Delhi either had to pass through Rajasthan or through Malwa. Now if Rajasthan and Malwa also part of Delhi Sultanate, they can easily access to Gujarat. If they don't have control over Rajasthan area and Malwa region, once again it will become difficult for them. For this reason, Ranthambore was being ruled by Chauhan successors of Prithviraj. Now its ruler Hamir Deva had embarked on a series of warlike expeditions against the neighbors like Raja Bhoj of Dhar and Mewar. It was the age of imperialism. Like Delhi Sultanates wanted to expand their territories into other territories. Other kingdoms also wanted to expand their territories. Here we are seeing Ranthambore. It was ruled by successors of Chauhan. Chauhan means Prithviraj Chauhan III, who was defeated in 1192 by Ghori Muhammad. Later, Rajasthan region was given to the successors of Prithviraj III. They were ruling. Whenever Delhi Sultan was powerful, they accepted the authority of Delhi Sultan. Whenever there are troubles in Delhi Sultanate, for example, after the death of Iltutmish, they tried to assert their independence. After the death of Qutbuddin Aibak also, they tried to assert their independence. So whenever there is a confusion in the Delhi, then these people are vassals. Initially they became vassals of Delhi Sultan. Now whenever there is instability in the Delhi, then these vassals try to assert their independence. Not only attaining independence, they tried to assert themselves and they try to expand into neighboring areas. Same thing was happening in case of Ranthambore as well. Alauddin sent messages to Hamir Deva to kill or expel the Mongol nobles who rebelled against Alauddin. Here, the concept Mongol is coming. We have to see here. While Studying about Jalaluddin Khalji, we have seen that Jalaluddin Khalji was a benevolent despot. Even Mongols invaded the Delhi Sultanate territories. Some of the Mongols were captured. Instead of massacring them, they were given opportunity to settle in the Delhi and neighboring areas. Later, they became part of the army, the soldiers of Delhi Sultanate. So they became part of Delhi Sultanate army and they participated in the Gujarat expedition as well. However, sometimes these Mongol mercenaries or Mongol soldiers, they used to rebel against the Sultan if they don't get the sufficient war booty. So they are participating in the army in order to gain booty in the wars and battles. Whenever they are not satisfied with the returns from this expedition, they tried to assert themselves or they tried to rebel against the Sultan. When Gujarat expedition took place, similar kind of development took place and some of the Mongol soldiers rebelled against the Sultan. They took shelter in Rajasthan kingdoms. This thing happened in case of Ranthambore as well. So under these circumstances, Alauddin sent messages to ruler of Ranthambore to kill Mongol nobles or at least expel them who rebelled against Alauddin. But Hamir Deva denied it. Alauddin himself had to march against Ranthambore and finally conquered Ranthambore. However, it was not easy to conquer Rajasthan forts. Rajasthan forts are known for their stability, their strength. It would take months to capture these forts. After 3 months of close siege, the fearful Johar ceremony took place. The women mounted the funeral pyre. So Johar means women mounted the funeral pyre and all men came out to fight to the last. So the Johar you will hear now often you will hear in case of the raids towards Rajasthan areas. Ranthambore you will find, in Chittorgarh you will find one more time the fearful Johar ceremony. This is the first description we have of Johar in Persian chronicles. This is for the first time that Persian chronicles are mentioning about the Johar ceremony by Rajput princesses. All the Mongols too died fighting with Rajputs. Now, just now we have seen some of the Mongols who rebelled against Delhi Sultan. They took shelter with Rajput kings. Now they fought shoulder to shoulder with Rajputs against the Delhi Sultans. So this event took place in 1301. Finally, Ranthambore was captured by Delhi Sultan Alauddin Khalji. The famous poet Amir Khusro, who went along with Alauddin during this time period, has given a graphic description of the fort and its investment. So it is important. Amir Khusro was contemporary of Alauddin Khalji. He was a direct observer of this battle and he has given graphic description about this battle and performance of Johar by Rajput's women. This is about Ranthambore. So Ranthambore also became part of Delhi. Now Gujarat was captured, Ranthambore was captured. Now in between Ranthambore and Gujarat, once again there was a powerful Rajput kingdom, that is Chittor. Its ruler Ratan Singh had annoyed Alauddin by refusing permission to his armies to march to Gujarat through Mewar territories. So whenever he need to access the Gujarat region, he had to take the permission of Rajputana or he had to make these territories as part of Delhi Sultan. So conflict natural, inevitable. Chittor also dominated the routes from Ajmer to Malwa. So this Chittor is important to connect to Malwa region and Gujarat region. Popular legend that Alauddin attacked Chittor because he coveted Padmini, the beautiful queen of Ratan Singh. Many modern historians do not accept it. So some legends were saying that Alauddin Khalji attacked Chittorgarh for capturing Padmini, a beautiful queen of Ratan Singh. However, many historians reject it. The real reason behind this is Delhi Sultans should get access to Gujarat ports and in between powerful states will create havoc to the accessibility. So in order to make the accessibility easier, Alauddin Khilji attacked Ranthambore and also Chittorgarh. We know about Padmini legend from a writer called Malik Muhammad Jaisi. He has written a work called Padmavat in 1540. Now we are in 1303. 1303, contemporary of Alauddin Khilji, Amir Khusro. If you see here, he has given very much details about Ranthambore battle. But he did not mention anything about Padmini. But this legend became very popular after the Padmavat work of Malik Muhammad Jaisi after more than 100 years. So this means not only more than 200 years. So this shows that possibly there was no such legend. Maybe Malik Muhammad Jaisi through his work it made as a powerful legend. So but many modern historians do not accept that Alauddin Khilji attacked Chittorgarh for Padmini. So this is one important clarification we have to make when it comes to Chittorgarh attack by Alauddin Khilji. The Rajputs performed Johar here also, like Ranthambore case, warriors died fighting. Now you can see here it is Delhi, it is Gujarat. In order to get access, this is the easiest way. Now in between, if there are powerful states, it becomes difficult for Delhi to get access to Gujarat. So he had to capture this area and this area. Ranthambore became part of Delhi Sultanate now, and Chittorgarh also became part of Delhi Sultanate. Now he has complete continuous access to Gujarat ports. And later he is going to attack Malwa as well, and through Malwa he will reach the Deccan areas. Now next, after conquering Ranthambore, Chittorgarh, Gujarat, now he expanded his territories to Deoghar. Rai Ramachandra was the ruler of Yadava dynasty. He had agreed to pay a yearly tribute to Delhi. Now after making these areas safe, now he attacked Deoghar. Rai of Ramachandra, the ruler accepted the suzerainty of Delhi. Rai Ramachandra was treated very well by the Delhi Sultanate. A gift of 1 lakh tankas was given to Ramachandra along with a golden colored canopy which was a symbol of rulership. He accepted the suzerainty of Delhi. In return, Delhi also respected him. Ramachandra was also given a district of Gujarat. One of his daughters was married to Alauddin. So this shows that he was practical in nature. He felt that his armies cannot withstand before the armies of Alauddin Khilji. So he accepted the suzerainty, and in return he got Yadava dynasty or Yadava kingdom to his and to his successors. So he maintained his kingdom by paying a annual tribute to Delhi. Now Yadava kingdom also became part of Delhi Sultanate, however in a different way. Now direct administration was not directly taken to Deccan region. Now you have to see the practical policy of Alauddin Khilji. In case of Gujarat, in case of Malwa, in case of Gangetic Valley, direct Delhi Sultanate administration followed. When it comes to Deccan, he did not directly bring the Delhi administration there. He made these rulers as vassals so that these kings, they will help or they support Delhi Sultan whenever he wanted to expand into other territories. For the first time, next his armies reached Warangal. Now these campaigns were under Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur was the slave who was captured when Gujarat was captured. Now Malik Kafur became important general. Now he is leading the armies into Deccan. Now almost reaching the Warangal region, Deoghar king became vassal of Delhi Sultan. Now he reached Warangal. For the first time, Muslim armies penetrated as far as south and brought back untold wealth. And Warangal, then Hoysala, then Madurai. Alauddin Khilji armies reached deep south. They provided first-hand information about conditions in the south, though they hardly provided any fresh geographical knowledge. So it is very important for Alauddin Khalji and for the successors of Alauddin Khalji to know the conditions of Deccan. Colonies of Muslim merchants settled in southern ports. Some of the colonies were also established by these Muslim armies. Alauddin himself was not in favor of direct administration. Later, during the time period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he wanted to establish direct administration. Because of this policy, he had an experiment of shifting the capital from Delhi to Diogir so that he can handle southern areas and northern areas effectively. So during the time period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the direct Delhi Sultanate was expanded directly till south. Now he wanted to make Diogir as a central point so that he can administer both areas. However, he failed in this regard. So Alauddin Khalji was practical in nature. He was not in favor of direct administration. He wanted to control these areas only for wealth, and indirectly he controlled these areas. Now you can see Delhi is here. Delhi Sultanate expanded. Here Kakatiya, Hoysala, Pandya kingdoms were there. So indirectly he established his control. Only he looted. During the time period of Alauddin Khalji armies reached these areas just for the sake of getting wealth. Now, when Ghayazuddin Tughlaq came in 1320, by 1320 Khalji dynasty ended, Tughlaq dynasty came in 1320. They followed a forward policy. Forward policy means directly they wanted to expand into deep Deccan, direct administration of Delhi Sultanate. Ghayazuddin Tughlaq's son Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he was posted to Diogir for the purpose of expanding the territories. He expanded by 1324. Now see, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, both as governor of Deccan and also during the ruler of Delhi, he expanded territories. By 1324, the territories of Delhi Sultan reached up to Madurai in south and Orissa in the east. Now you can see during the time period of Tughlaq's direct administration, or the territories of Delhi Sultan directly reached deep south and Orissa region as well. Kampil in South Karnataka was annexed in 1328. So a small kingdom was there, Kampil. Kampil is important. We will get once again when we study about Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagara Empire was established by two brothers, Harihara and Bukkaraya. They were serving in the Kampil region or Kampil kingdom. Later, they established Vijayanagara kingdom. So in that case also, we will hear once again Kampil. This sudden expansion created tremendous administrative and financial problems for Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, all of a sudden, almost entire Indian subcontinent came under Delhi Sultan. Now, Delhi Sultans had to devise a method and administrative policy to effectively control this much territory. We will study what kind of policies Muhammad bin Tughlaq has taken. One example was transfer of capital from Delhi to Diogir. Along with this experiment, he has done other experiments also to control over his territories. Now, by the time period of Tughlaqs, you can see the direct control of Delhi Sultanate into different areas. So, in order to handle this much big territory, he had a vision of shifting Delhi capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. However, it has its own practical issues. He controlled south, but he could not control north from Daulatabad. Once again, it created havoc on the Delhi Sultanate. After his experiments, gradually different dynasties or different kingdoms emerged. Delhi Sultanate got disintegrated. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq was, one way, he was responsible for expanding the territories of Delhi Sultanates, and his policies also sowed the seeds of disintegration of Delhi Sultanate. However, complete responsibility we cannot put on Muhammad bin Tughlaq for the disintegration of Delhi Sultanate. So he is also one of the responsible person for the disintegration. However, there are many other reasons for disintegration of Delhi Sultan that we are going to discuss in future classes. So in this class, we have seen the expansion of Delhi Sultanate, In 1206, Delhi Sultanate was established. Till 1290 or till the time period of Mamluk dynasty, their main concentration was Gangetic Valley. They stabilized and consolidated, and later during the time period of Khaljis, the real expansion of Delhi Sultanate started. Alauddin Khalji, he expanded directly till Gujarat area. In the Deccan, he did not follow the policy of direct administration. He sent his armies to get the wealth. He did it successfully. However, after Khaljis, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq time period, the direct administration or direct conquest of Deccan also became successful. However, due to the policies of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, this territory could not be maintained intact. So this is about expansion of Delhi Sultanate into almost entire subcontinent. Thank you.